One's ready. Go! So you guys are going into special warfare assessment selection. It is an attributes-based selection model. What does that mean?
Guys, are we running right now to get fitter? Or are we practicing running? Practicing.
Right? I can't freaking...
So there's a holistic picture that we're looking for. The instructors are giving you input, and we're expecting an output. And everything is for a reason. If you guys haven't heard my spiel yet, everything that we do, every single exercise, has a connection to the job that you're trying to do. We don't want people at INDOC, Special Warfare Assessment Selection, whatever they're gonna call the new course when it inevitably changes somewhere down the road. I don't care what they call it. What I need is you to show me the raw materials for the things that I wanna build you into. Just like everything else, it's a crawl, walk, run.
I'm running Keysler just like this. All the way to ATC, you never quit. All the way to ATC, you never quit.
Dude, do you know how locked in I was on that, talking to Dean?
So
you know why? Because I had these.
I noticed.
These bad boys right here.
Yeah, those
No big deal.
They're so
And
good.
then I took these right before going on Drinking Bros too.
Yeah.
I was...
Boy, you just a light flex there. You hit him with a little teaser that you went on Drinking Bros. That's nice.
Yeah.
So, I got to be honest, man. The Tasty Gains stuff. When we first started talking to Tasty Gains, I was like, man, I'm in. Obviously, I love the creatine gummies. They're third party verified. It's not like all these other creatine gummies out there that don't have the creatine in them. There's actually a little bit more creatine in these gummies per serving. As a matter of fact, is what the third party testing figured out. So you can put that little baby to bed. But I didn't even know that they made nootropics. You gave me the Tasty Gains nootropics. I have been the second. I'll tell you, you know when it's good is when I ran out of them and I looked at the bottle and it was empty and I wanted to take it before I went to work that day and I was like, oh no, I got to get beat.
I'm in danger.
Yeah, exactly. I became dependent on it, man. It's like super fuel for my brain. It feels great. I am a guy that needs a little bit of extra focus at work. Okay. I'm not going to use any letters to describe a condition I may or may not have. But what I will tell you is that they help out. It's great for mental focus. It's easy on the tummy. It doesn't hurt my head. It's all good, man. So the nootropics from Tasty Gains, fantastic. The creatine gummies, the pre-workout gummies, everything I've tried from them have been badass. And we probably have the coolest like influencer team on Team Tasty Gains. You got a little something for everybody, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. And also, here's what they're going to do, because I got a message from them this morning. They are going to give a bag of creatine gummies to every single one of the people that go to, or that are interested in, that go to the Operator Training Summit in Nashville.
Oh, hell yeah.
They are going to send them a bag if they want one. They're not just going to send a whole bulk. They want to fuel and get the gains for the folks that are coming to the Operator Training Summit in Nashville. So that's super cool of them as well.
I got it. And listen, if you're hearing this and you're like, creatine gummies, I'm not training to get into a pipeline. I'm not trying to be super in shape. I'm just trying to maintain. Guess what? Everybody needs creatine. Women need creatine. Men need creatine. It helps with cognition. Usually about 12 grams a day is what they're coming out in the research. So especially if you're having problems ordering those thoughts, I'll tell you, it's like super fuel. Couple creatine gummies, couple nootropics. My brain is operating at max capacity. It's all thanks to Tasty Gains. They're the best.
That's it. All right, everybody, enjoy this episode with Dean from Black Rifle Coffee Philanthropy. I'll get that word out eventually.
No, you will not. You said you were going to get it inside of the episode, and I almost said that no, you were never going to say the word philanthropy correctly. It's tripped me up every time. Dean Goble, prior 18 series guy, so he's a Green Beret, had a great 20 years of service and has ended up continuing to serve in a bunch of different capacities, both with Special Forces Foundation, that's at specialforcesfoundation.org, and over at Black Rifle Philanthropy, as Jared so eloquently
like
stated.
that.
Just like
that's
that.
How you're supposed to say it. All right, everybody, enjoy. Light up.
Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. It's Peaches. It's me. It's our good friend, Dean. We keep having Army Green Berets on here. You know why? It's because I like to feel smart. Dean, that's an insult, and that's not how you're supposed to start a podcast. Welcome, brother. How are you doing?
Good, brother. How are you doing today?
Good, man. Hey, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. Dean has a 20-year. Don't go to Grok. Grok took a year away from Dean, right? Like when I usually look and I'm like, hey, make me an intro for the person that we're about to do, Grok. They try to short him a year of service. So 20 years as a Green Beret. We'll start there, and then we're gonna lay some breadcrumbs. And we're gonna figure out what you're doing. Great work over at Black Rifle, which is how we met quite a long time ago, as a matter of fact, out at MCon, which is coming up. But Dean, tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, most importantly, I'm married. I got two boys that are kind of like my world. So they're 18 and 16. So my oldest is slowly walking away. He just got a job here recently. So it's kind of, it's just the next bridge for me as growing up. It's interesting when your son's just like, "Hey, Dad, I'm going to work," and I'm like, "Really? That's weird." So trying to get past that. But mostly recently retired, so as of September 1st of this year, I am now a retired free man from the United States government. But prior to that, I spent the large majority, 16 years in special forces, and I spent 4 years in conventional forces beforehand. So I did that. And then, more recently, a few years ago or so, it's been a lot longer. Time flies, but I started volunteering for the Special Forces Foundation. Then later on, I found myself in charge of it. So I've been leading that fantastic, organization for a few years now. And then more recently, I started working over at Black Rifle Coffee Company as the director of philanthropy.
So let's take it all the way back, man. So a young man 20 years ago, you were looking at crazy stuff going on, inside of America. What even drew you to the Army? Did you want to be a Green Beret straight from the rip? Did you want to do something else in the Army, and the Green Beret career field spoke to you? Like, what happened?
Yeah, it was interesting. Like I guess in high school, I was always a little bit drawn to the idea of being in the military. So it skipped a generation. So my father and his brothers never served, but my grandfather, who had 14 brothers and sisters, every one of those brothers all served. So,
Jeez.
so I got to hear their war stories, which they were kind of, a little bit tight-lipped about, because they didn't like to talk about the Korean War and stuff like that. But I kind of always felt the need. And then my other grandfather on my mother's side was also a veteran. So I don't know, it was just like this splinter in the back of my head. And then quite frankly, I tried to go to college. And so I went to college for a year, and God, did I hate it. I mean, no hate on anybody who does, college and loves that kind of stuff. But man, I thought it was boring. I didn't like it. And so I went back home and I told my grandfather, I was like, "Hey, I really don't like this college stuff." And he was like, "Join the military." And so I did, and it was like, so that day I literally went down, and if I'm being honest, I went to the Marine Corps recruiter, and he was like, "Yeah, man, we'll give you 5 grand," and then I was like, "Hold that." And I went across the street, and there's an Army one. And the Army guy's like, "Dude, we're giving $20,000 bonuses." And to a young kid, I mean, that was $1 million. I was like, 20 grand, that's insane. So
I've
I
never
was like,
seen
"Oh."
that much money.
So
Listen, man,
I wish I
back
could say I did this all for patriotism and all the buzzwords, but honestly, I was just a young dumb kid who needed a job, and I happened to be in decent shape, because I played sports and all that, and it just kind of rolled into it.
So the war stories, or the not even the war stories, but the sense of camaraderie that like, because I had the same thing. My dad didn't serve, right? But I had a cousin that did, and an uncle that did, and my grandfather. And just listening to their just banter or whatever back and forth with friends, and just not war stories, but just like, "Oh yeah, and then this happened on this training event, or this happened." Like, that is what drew me in. Is like, what do you think that is? That, because that obviously got you as well.
Yeah, well, and it's just a little off topic, but reminds me of a great story. So my great uncle Don, who like he would humbly, like, he everybody knew he served, and he was kind of, if you will, the most hardcore veteran we had in the family. I mean, the guy has seen some combat, but he would never speak about it. You see, he was really tight-lipped. But I remember coming back home, like a lot of us do, after my first deployment to Iraq, and we were doing, I think it was over 4th of July or something, but we always came together for like a family reunion. And he just came up and started like telling me, like, his experience in Korea and stuff. And my grandfather walked over after we were done. He's like, "I've known that guy my entire life, and he's never told that story to anybody." So it was weird because I kind of felt like I was a part of the crew now. Like, he wouldn't tell those stories because I think that he didn't think that other people would, relate. But I think he knew, like, hey, I went and kind of, like, I guess, earned mine, if you will. And so he was like, "You're in a cool club now." So he would tell me these war stories that he had that apparently he never told anybody. He always kind of kept it to himself. And so I quite frankly, I kind of do the same now. It's kind of
Yeah.
weird how I kind of adapt to that.
Yeah,
Well,
but my brother gets frustrated with me because he's like, "Hey, dude, why don't you say some of the things that you've told me about?" Because my brother's also in the Air Force, well, he's in the Guard now, but and he's like, dude, you've got a podcast, you got a platform. How come you don't say what the other things? I'm like, because I don't want to. It's not for this venue. Like, there's a couple things that I've said, right, but not everything. It's just a weird kind of thing. And my grandfather was the same way. He didn't say much until me and my brother started serving, and he told us a couple stories from the Korean War.
Mhm.
And my mom sitting there going like, "What the hell, man?" Like, and he just kept it to himself for
well,
whatever reason.
it's that old saying, right? Like, to those that can't understand warfare, then there's no explanation that I'm going to possibly be able to give you that'll help you
Yeah,
understand it. And if you actually understand warfare and you've been there, then there's really no explanation that's needed. And
yeah,
I think, Dean's story is one of those great things that kind of draws people into the military, is when you see people that have been in the military, when you were on the outside looking in and you were seeing those people talk, they had this shorthand. There was a staccato to the way that they talked. There was a rhythm. There was something that they inherently understood. And we see it now on the other end.
yeah.
When you start talking to somebody, it doesn't matter who they are. I can run into him at the bar down at Smith's, and if he's got a Ranger t-shirt on, I'm like, "Oh, hey, what's up? What bat did you work in?" "Oh, over at First. Where were you?" "I was at Tacoma. I did this." Whatever. There's that natural rhythm that you fall in, and that is addictive. People see that from the outside in, and they're like, "That's culture. That's team. Those are teammates that are talking." It's a different way. You can see it. It's different. And then when you do finally pay your dues, I had the same sort of experience with a couple members of my family. I didn't hear these
Hmm.
stories until I'd gotten back from, a deployment or two, or spent some time in. And finally they were like, "Oh, you get it now. Let's talk for real." It's just a
You've
cool
earned it
thing.
now.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you understand, and I don't have to try to explain this to somebody, but let me tell you this story about this thing that happened. You're like, "Holy shit." Did you do that?
Oh, it's so interesting to see it. Yeah, like to your point, Aaron, it's kind of like a bona fides, just and even like, and it's so bad, especially, I mean, I can't speak for, the entire military, but in special forces, it's like, it's so weird. Like, I won't even know the person, but if he's on the other side of the street walking, I usually am be like, "Yep, that's a Green Beret over there." Like you could be,
Yeah.
and the funny thing is we always think we're all incognito and shit. And I was like,
No,
look,
No, you're not.
it's like
listen,
we all,
you're
No, you're
wearing
not.
you're wearing Keens Ray Solo boots with 511 pants and a flannel and a team hat, like with North Face bags.
The young guys are going to be so mad at you because you gave what we would wear in like the early 2000s. They're wearing Caillou. They're wearing
I
Arc'teryx
know.
now. They're wearing Columbia button-ups.
yeah,
I always love going out in Tacoma because there were
Yeah.
so many of the different tribes there. You'd look, be like, those are the Bat Boys. Those are the Special Forces guys. The Seer dudes are playing Dungeons and Dragons in the corner at the bar, which is weird, but that's what they do. And then you could pick out the tribes, right? Everybody in
that's
skinny
fine. Yeah,
jeans, flannels, and a big
Jared
watch.
really showed his age there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Yeah. You guys with your North Face and your Ace Solo boots. I don't even know if those guys are in freaking business anymore, brother.
yeah. Well, that's why I threw in Keens too. I mean,
That's fair.
yeah, yeah,
I do like Keens. Those always been pretty good to me.
yeah. So, I mean, I'm gonna hop right into it. So, you you work for Black Rifle now, right?
Correct.
Doing what?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good question. So I'm the
Good
director
question,
of
What would
Jared.
you
philanthropy.
say you do
What would
at
you say
Black
you
Rifle?
do here?
Well, so I mean, what I'm supposed to do, and which I do, but I'm the director of philanthropy, and it's just I tell people all the time, it's just a real fancy way of saying that I oversee like our corporate giving strategy for Black Rifle. So everything we do from like a mission philanthropic effort across the board, I get I have the ability to oversee a lot of those and ensure we're doing it. So, which I absolutely love because I've always, you know, how do I say that? Like being in the military, I've always had this like purpose of mine of the serve. And so to me,
Yeah,
it just made perfect sense to kind of move into philanthropy. And so starting off in the Special Forces Foundation kind of helped me, learn the ropes, if you will, from a business aspect. And then later on, and once I retired, I was hired on from Black Rifle Coffee Company to pretty much do that for them. And so I love it because I get to work with, I mean, dozens of nonprofits throughout the nation to help, assist them to help them do what they do better. And that's really much
Yeah,
to gain. So I like it because it's very rewarding to do.
that's what I was going to say. It's gotta feel so good. So you mentioned a couple foundations, but you got philanthropy. Geez, I'll get it out there with Black Rifle, but then Special Forces Foundation. And you said you work with some others, but it's got to be so rewarding when you see, a family or a dude in need that is just, whether it's down on his luck, maybe he made some bad decisions, or maybe it's just he's got some PTSD going, or just shitty luck. And you guys are able to roll in there and help him and his family out. I mean, it's got to be so rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely. Like by, with, and through is, what I live by in life. And so being able to, work for a company like Black Rifle Coffee Company to assist nonprofits, 501(c)(3)s to do what they do better is like a win-win for everybody because it's what we do. It's at the heart of Black Rifle is, serving those that serve is kind of our, one of our quotes, but it's amazing to see you helping them raise money or whatever their effort may be that you can see directly impacting the community. Now,
Hmm.
granted, I'll be honest, there's a lot of, what people don't see is the amount of vetting that goes behind this because not all nonprofits are created equal. Some of them are great, some of them not so much. So I spend a lot of my time getting to really know and understand the leadership of different nonprofits, what their focus is, where their money's going. So if there's a nonprofit, and they're just like, yeah, we 10% of everything we get goes back to the community. I'm usually like, yeah, it's just not right for us. I
Yeah.
want to ensure, people got to get paid. I get that you got to pay the mortgage, but and it's not to throw shade on anybody by any means, but it's just one of those things. Like I take it pretty seriously to truly vet and understand all the nonprofits we're working with and the impacts they're making.
Yeah, yeah, it is important to vet because you're right. I think even sometimes 10% is probably a high percentage for some of these foundations that that are taking in donations, and the people that are donating, they expect their money to go and help people. Yeah, I'm sure they expect a fraction of it, fraction percentage of it to go towards overhead and admin stuff and payrolls and stuff like that. But they intend for all of, the majority of their $100 or $50 or $10,000 to go towards the people that need it. So I'm glad you guys do a lot of the vetting because I know I can speak for our foundations. They don't take a cut, or if it is, it's minuscule. Like they have like the Combat Control Foundation has a director. She is the only one that gets paid, and she works for multiple foundations, so she only takes a fraction of it.
Hmm.
So like, and I think that that's an important thing to look at if somebody is going to go out there and donate to a foundation or a charity or 501(c)(3) or whatever it is. Like, just maybe take a look at their books and vet them real quick before you throw your money at them.
Yeah, you're spot on. Yep, and it's just good business, and it keeps everybody accountable. Like
Yeah,
in the nonprofit realm, you should always strive to be as transparent as physically possible. Always be able to open your books, be like, this is what the money, this is the impact, the statistics, the testimonies, and it's just so important that nonprofits do that. But that's what I look at you know, because I do get asked that question all the time, like, "Hey, what are you looking at?" And a lot of the administrative stuff, like your 990s, your finances, I obviously look at all those, but I like to see testimonies. It's one thing to have, the leaders of nonprofits say, like, "Yeah, we're a phenomenal nonprofit." And I'm one of them that would say the exact same, but it's something different when Aaron comes over and he's just like, they helped me and this is what happened.
yeah,
So that kind of gives you, and then when you start to see those overload and you see all that impact, then it makes the decisions a lot easier.
yeah, for sure. And the one thing that doesn't, I would say, doesn't get advertised very often is the Black Rifle, you guys come in with boxes upon boxes of coffee. You ship a bunch downrange, right? Like tens of thousands of bags of coffee downrange. Those are my numbers, not yours. I'm kind of guessing that it's that much because the amount that I've seen sure seems like that much. But I mean, even stateside, I've had when Chachi worked for you guys, he would come to Nellis Air Force Base and with boxes upon boxes of coffee and just like divvy
Yep.
it out to everybody. It was great.
Do the same today. Yeah, there is not a single week that passes. I'm pretty confident in that statement where we don't send coffee overseas to some troops that are deployed. I mean, it's a constant thing, but that's one of our favorite things to do because you can just, the small testimonies we get back from that because we're not asking for people to record and say, hey, look how cool this company is. But every once in a while we'll get a video back just internally and stuff, and you can just see like, how it is, the platoon, the detachment just losing their shit because they just got a whole pallet of coffee. You're now the hottest girl at the ball for sure. If you're the POC, you're fighting people off because everybody's coming trying to get theirs. But yeah, across and the state side, I mean, all the nonprofits we support, not only do we support them usually monetarily, but we always support them with in-kind donations. So if we're like, hey, if you have an event going up, we'll help you kind of build out some gift packages for your clients, etc. So it works really well, and we love to do it. I mean, it's so awesome to see it come together.
Well, I'll give you a testimonial. I'm on the board for Veteran Bushido Brotherhood. We have a throwdown. So Veteran Bushido Brotherhood is a 501c3. We try to find veterans. We try to give them essentially their first 3 months of any fitness class they want to do. You want to do Zumba? Fine, we'll do Zumba. Obviously, we focus on jiu-jitsu because we're all jiu-jitsu guys, right? But if you want to go and you want to do Pilates, like if you're a military member that spent a little bit of time in the military and you're looking for another community and Pilates is that community, we'll do it. But short story, we have a throwdown every single September. We reached out to Dean and Black Rifle. I said, hey, I know these guys. I've met Dean at MCon. I kind of know the Black Rifle dudes. Maybe they'd be willing to support. You guys absolutely crushed it for that throwdown. And it was exactly what you just said. People, as soon as those boxes got open, as soon as the coffee and all the swag got put on the table, everybody started doing the little meerkat thing. They're like, hey, what do we got going on over there, man? So I just wanted to give some time and say thanks for your help. It was our biggest throwdown ever. It's going to get another 50 veterans into those programs for this next
awesome.
year, and we're crushing it. And Black Rifle supported that, and it was the shortest phone call of ever. I thought I was making the pitch of my lifetime, and Dean's like, "No, this is great, man. Did the due diligence. You guys look awesome. Yeah, let's hook it up." And I was like, "All right, well, I guess I won."
Yeah, I like to get to the point. Yeah, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention like not only that, but what I really wanted to focus on, and we did. Over the past year, but I want to. So unfortunately, there will be other, natural disasters in the United States in the future. And so I really wanted to focus on that because I wanted to, selfishly let the community know that Black Rifle is a part of the community and we'll be there to support. So just like and if I'm being frank, the first time we did it out in Western North Carolina for Hurricane Helene, we went out there to do our part as well and donate, supplies. But, obviously the vast majority of what we were giving out was coffee. And I was honestly a little bit worried there at the beginning because I was like, I'm going to show up and bring these people coffee and stuff. And they're going to be like, look, bro, I don't even have like a stove, you asshole, like here you are bringing me coffee. I could have been more wrong. I mean, people were just like, this is the one thing we need. And it was so heartwarming to kind of, see people kind of losing their shit when we would show up with coffee. And then before you know, we were getting phone calls that was going through the grapevine that would come to us and say, hey, man, there's this other outpost that's working 24/7. They said they heard you guys were in town. Can you figure out a way? And we got to the point where we had to contract an aircraft to get the coffee out to some of the more remote areas because if you work
massive
that
morale builder too, though.
It was huge.
Coffee is a huge morale builder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we just recently did it down in Kerrville as well. We went down there and helped respond to the floods down there. So not to pat ourselves on the back or anything, but it's just, to me, it made sense for Black Rifle to help support those, when people need it most. And especially because, I wanted to put a lot of focus this year and, we can do better in 2026, but I wanted to put a lot of focus on supporting first responders and firefighters, policemen, simply because I just, you know, us military people, we get a lot of love, and I've said this, you know, plenty of times to people, but you know, we get all the love a lot. You know, it's usually always about the military, about the troops. You know, we got the salute service games, and so I really
Hmm.
wanted to do something for more of like, you know, the police and firefighters throughout the nation and support them. Not that Black Rifle hasn't always done it, but just obviously trying to improve our craft and take it to the next level. Because let's
What are
be
some
honest, there's some cops in Chicago that have seen 10 times more combat than I have. So I mean, they go
Yeah.
through
wow,
some. So you know, when you really put it in perspective, I mean, and they don't even go like, it's like me. I would redeploy, you know, back home. So I'm back in,
right,
you know, sunny Colorado, and then he's just like, you know, some, you know, cop in Chicago. He's like, yeah, I live, you know, 6 blocks away from where I just made a drug bust, and they know who I
right.
am. So I can, you know, somewhat relate to their, you know, their situations. But anyways, I
Jeez.
didn't mean to go off on a tangent on that, but it's just one of those things that, you know, if anybody asks me, it is near and dear to me to kind of figure out you know, to continue to, you know, get more creative on how we support. And we did, you know, we just supported Guns and Hoses. You know, it's a foundation, but they hold an annual boxing tournament. That was really cool to see. Unfortunately I was unable to attend, but they sent us some pretty cool photos and stuff, and I was like, that's pretty awesome to raise money for, you know, the children of, you know, the fallen, for them. So, but I'm sorry, Aaron, I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's okay. I was just going to ask you, what are some other big things that you guys are getting after in 2026? I know you guys always have big plans. You're always doing things bigger than the year before. What are you looking forward to in 26?
Well, I mean, it's going to be a big year for all of us. So, you know, America's 250th birthday is next year, and obviously we're pretty patriotic over at Black Rifle. So
You
that
don't
is,
say.
yeah, you know, we've been told, you know, but we take our red, white, and blue very seriously. So yeah, so with 2026, that's the main effort we're looking to do, you know, and partner and continue that. But you know, we're trying, you know, and we're working through it right now, but we're trying to find a lot of very creative ways to help celebrate America's 250th while supporting and helping, you know, from a philanthropic mission standpoint.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you, the 250th anniversary this year, everything about it, I'm just super pumped about. I
Hmm.
couldn't be any more excited just about the event, the entire year that's coming up. We've got a UFC event that's going to go off in June from the White House lawn. Like, that's absolutely the most insane thing, both as an MMA fan, just as an American. The spectacle of that is going to be great, but it's celebrating something that rarely happens, and countries aren't meant to survive 250 years, and we got another at least 250 in front of us. I'm glad that you guys are going to be at the forefront of those celebrations. Man, we talked about it. It's been a through line this entire time that we've had these talk, but it's that call to service, right? Like, you had no idea why. College, our stories mirror each other a lot. I also did not do well at college and hated it, and then that's what brought me, you know, to the military and to the Air Force. Even our recruiting thing, went to the Marines, and they were like, talk to me later. The Air Force guy was like, I can get you in now, and that's how I got in the Air Force. So it was
Yeah.
obviously a lot of thought went into that decision, but it was that call to service, right? Like, you were called to do this thing, you didn't really know why, and then you found yourself at Black Rifle, and now you found a way. Unlike other veterans, we have a lot of our bros, a lot of our peer groups get out and they don't find a mission, they don't find something that they truly care about. And that's not the case with you. It seems like you landed at a place that allowed you to do a whole lot of things, both through the Special Forces Foundation, which you already kind of had under your belt, but then you got to open that aperture up. But it's all service. So what was it? Was it the family culture that brought you up, that you just knew that you wanted to serve? Was it something just in your genes and in your lineage, or was that something that was built in you through your service in the Army, that you just wanted to keep doing it once you got out?
Yeah, I would say all of the above. Um, and then, like, I would say selfishly, like, I find a lot of purpose from it. And I think it helps me from like a mental standpoint. So, while I say that I do this always just completely selfishly, you know, it is probably not entirely true. You know, there's a lot of it I do for the gratification of seeing that I'm helping other people with their lives, that give me satisfaction and purpose in my life. I hope that makes sense. That may be a little confusing, but I don't know what it is. It's just I remember, like, you know, as an example, in the Special Forces Foundation, I was kind of getting a little burnt out. It's very taxing, and I'm a volunteer for it, even though I run it. It's a glorified hobby, if you will, but within a
Oh,
very
we
serious
know what a
business.
glorified hobby looks like, Dean.
You're
Okay,
on one.
you're on one.
And so I'm
Congratulations.
talking to the right crew. And so it was one of those. I had I won't say his name or anything, but they were struggling, and I went and helped them out, and I won't get into the specifics. But he found me in my office, and he came up, and he was like in tears. He was like, yeah, he's like, you have no idea what that meant. That gave me, the hope to be able to kind of get through this in life. And I'm just like, every time I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a step back, something like that would happen. That would just literally pull me right back to it, because I'm like, see, that's what it's all about, and having that, just that feeling. Quite frankly, it's a bit addictive. There's a little bit of an addiction to it when you're helping people and you see that and you get that gratitude. You're just like, I want to have that feeling again. So I wish I could sit there and say, I don't want to blow smoke up people's ass that no, it's all selfishly and all this. No, there's a lot of selfishness to it that I get a lot of gratitude that helps me with my own personal life.
You had mentioned, the help in North Carolina and Virginia and stuff like that. You never know when a national or natural disaster is going to happen and stuff like that. But, in the South and on the East Coast, you kind of have, all right, well, we know when hurricane season is coming. Do you guys as Black Rifle, do you prep for that kind of stuff in terms of, all right, let's go ahead and start stockpiling stuff and then pre-position stuff to support certain areas? I mean, I get it. It's all of kind of, southeast, so it's a large area, and you're a private company. Well, I guess you're public now,
Public.
but so like, how do you guys work that? Because I mean, it's got to be, because I know that you guys have also helped some of the, like, you don't have your own that I'm tracking, but I know that there's the companies that kind of go out there and do rescue missions and stuff like that are not affiliated with the government. I mean, you guys are supporting all that. So do you guys pre-plan, pre-position any of that kind of stuff? Kind of like a military operation?
We do now. Yeah. So, I mean, it's like, so now, like, our roasting facilities out there in Manchester, Coffee County, Tennessee. And so great people out there. And so they help us by ensuring that we always have, and, I'm sure you're familiar with speedballs, but so I call them coffee balls. And essentially, we always have a pallet of two or three ready to ship within, 12 hours. To whatever designated location. So if there is a natural disaster, throughout America, we can ship out, that coffee very quickly and get it to the people who need it. Then we follow up, once again, by, with, and through, because we're a coffee company, not a natural disaster
Right.
response organization. But there are, once again, great nonprofits who do that. So one of them we work with is, Operation Barbecue Relief, OBR. It's Stan Hayes over there, phenomenal person. And so, as an example, we don't have the ability to, do a complete uplift and shift and feed hundreds of thousands of people during a natural disaster. But what I can do
Yeah.
is work through a great organization like, OBR with Stan Hayes. And I believe, don't quote me on it, but I think they fed 42,000 meals during Kerrville.
Whoa.
So we were able to help support them, because what do they need? They need money and finances. And, once again, all we're doing is just helping them do what they already do better. And it's a great partnership, because it allows us to help the communities we love, but they have the resources and the know-how to be able to do it. So we come together to find a collective way. Another one I'm working on right now is with aerial recovery. If you're not familiar with them, they're just a bunch of retired soft guys. They have some CCTs who manage aircrafts. They got some rangers and soft guys that, sit there and coordinate for more of a search and, a recovery, search and rescue efforts. And it's just, once again, that's another great partnership that we can sit there and help them have the money to be able to conduct those activities, and then gives us yet another tool to support the community during their time of need. So just a couple of examples of how we can get after it a little bit creatively from Black Rifle, obviously not being somebody who specializes in that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I could just imagine, the Black Rifle speedball being, just a duffel bag or an A3 bag of just coffee and that kind of stuff. And then with a little slitted parachute and just helicopters, just
Except
be
it'd be
great.
Jared Taylor shirtless in
Yeah.
in like a little
100%.
bird, and you'd be like, "Why?" And he'd be like, "Yeah, brother." And you'd be like, "What
Stuffing
is
hot dogs in
happening?"
his face.
Yeah, like, bro, we're clearing brush down here, and I got a shirtless Jared Taylor screaming at me from 45 feet, dropping boxes on me. That's
And he
Exactly.
would too.
and
He
he would.
Yeah, he would. Yeah.
No, it's from an outsider, because I haven't gone and helped aerial recovery or anything like that. The only Hatter type stuff I done was on active duty, and we don't get that much out here in Nevada. So,
Oh yeah.
but it's cool to see, and it makes, when I see that kind of stuff, although I don't wish for it to happen, I do sit there and go like, man, it would be awesome to be in the mix again, just helping people, because even from a military operations side of the house, whenever you're doing some kind of humanitarian assistance, disaster relief, it's extremely rewarding, and also just extremely emotional too, when you see what some of these people have gone through, life loss aside, like losing everything that they've built their life on. And there's a lot of times there's no returning back to that, because if you take the fires right in Southern California or out in Malibu and in Hawaii, that's not going to return to the way that it was. Same with the areas in North Carolina. It's not going to go back to the way it was. And it was a magic, that, what's the name of that place in North Carolina that was pretty famous? It was like, it wasn't Rock Hill, but it was, anyway, it was a pretty magical place where people would go to, and it was a really, really small town. It just basically got wiped out. It was awful to see. But
Yeah, and on that note too, the beauty of it is, there's a lot of, I'd not get too off topic. There's a lot of negativity in this world. I'm sure you guys see it all the time. And so, it's one of those, I'm always kind of like, sounds a little bit corny, but I'm always kind of looking for that glimmer of light, that optimism and shit. And when you see these natural disasters, one of the most beautiful things is just watching these communities come together. It's amazing to see, like, people putting a lot of like hatred or whatever their problems to the side to kind of focus on what's the most important. And it's one of those, it's even right now, it's hard for me to explain, but when you see it in action, you're like, holy shit, this is pretty cool to see this unity and people coming together to get shit done.
it really,
I love it.
it is. It's something special, and it's not for everybody. You don't see it in everybody. I mean, I'm going to avoid going political, but you do see a lot of negative stuff. You got stuff that are happening on trains or buses, and other things that are happening. It's just, it's not great. So to see that glimmer of hope and that humanitarian, or that human aspect is massive, and it's good to see. And I'm glad that there's people out there like you, like Aerial Recovery, and the many others that are out there handling business, putting in the work, putting in the man hours, science.
Yeah,
That's exactly what I thought you were going to. We did the science. We put white out on a B. I love how too, like, you just wrapped up our entire, like, the crazy world that we live into. You're like, it's not great right now. You know what? That's a pretty good explanation for what it is that we got going on. It's not great.
It's always really hard for me
what
to understand that shit, because I'm like, I'm always dangerously optimistic. I'm that dude, if like my house is on fire, I'm like, well, at least it's not fucking cold. So I really try to, I really always try to stay pretty optimistic about things. But man, does it wear you thin from time to time, where you're just like, I feel like I'm gonna lose my shit. Like, this is the day.
Hey, at least I'm not cold. That's
that's great.
It can always be worse.
I was gonna get rid of most of that stuff anyway, so
how I don't have to hire movers. Everybody wins
the
here.
wife had been telling me to get it out of the garage. The garage is gone. Seems like a problem solved for everybody.
Exactly.
That's what we call a win-win-win in the business. Well, maybe you're the subject matter expert to listen to, man. Like, a lot of the people that listen to us, we get a lot of comments about, hey, I want to get in. And some of it's about physical training. But I'll tell you what, a lot of it is just reaching out to us for mentorship, as the older dogs in the game that have seen behind the curtain of the military and all those things that are good and bad, right? When we tell people about service in the military, we tell them about the good, the bad, the ugly, the mundane. We want them to have the full picture when they go in, right? A lot of the questions that they'll ask us is, I look out into the world and I see on my little death rectangle, I see the worst things about humanity every single day. And I don't know if I want to get in and serve for something like that. Man, if you are the constant and persistent optimist that it seems like you are, and you're always looking for the good things, what would you tell those folks DMing us about looking and seeing the good in the world and finding a way to get to service?
Yeah, I would say that you would be shocked on how significant your individual service can provide to help change a lot of things that are happening throughout the world. You'll find yourself, maybe not immediately, but if you're somebody who wants to serve for a little while like we did, you'll find yourself making some pretty powerful decisions and affecting cultures and people down that will make a huge difference. But at the end of the day, to me, it was never about the operation. It was always like, what I don't think people understood is, for me, it was always about the people that I was with, not so much about what we were doing. And I know that can come off like, well, what do you mean you just did it blindly? Well, at the end of the day, I had orders, and of course, I'm in the military. So, yes, some of it comes with, if the CG says we're fucking doing it, guess what everybody's doing? We're doing it. Welcome to the military. So you have to accept a bit of that, but you can obviously help shape and focus. But ultimately, I would always tell people, like, what you'll really take away from it, one day if you decide to join and get in on the efforts, is the people that you come across and get to meet, because that is something that I hold near and dear to me, that you just can't replace. And so everybody's like, oh, how's retirement and everything? I was like, well, I'll miss the clowns, but not the circus. So I can't say it's always going to be rainbows and butterflies. Welcome to military service. Still a job, but the people that you'll get to meet. But I hope, Aaron, I hope that answers the question. I kind of went on a rant there for a second, but yeah, it's just,
That was the point.
yeah,
That's why we brought you on.
it's always perspective, man. Like, if you're coming into it with this mindset that all this shit sucks and everything, well, become part of the solution. Step up. Even if it's not military service. And I'm guilty of it, being a little bit hypocritical, but I'm a voting citizen, so I'm allowed to be. But I see a lot of people talking a lot of shit about politics. Well, then run. You don't
Yeah.
have to sit there and run for president tomorrow. I get that that's probably a little far fetched to get to, but I guarantee you have local community leaders that you can start with. And you will probably be shocked what positions you may hold in the future if you do well. And so I always just challenge people. It's one thing to kind of set back and armchair quarterback that shit, but it's a different one to say, you know what, I'm going to at least try to make a difference that I feel that is morally and ethically correct for our country. And you can't really, at least I'll never really ding anybody for that, because at least you tried. It's better than, just sit there, like that person that's always, the trolls. I love those people. I have to admit,
Right.
I do find a lot of their shit very entertaining, though. It is so funny. I crack up so much. I was like, because you'll see
It is,
people lose
yeah.
their shit over it, and I'm just like, they're trolling you, and I just find it funny. It is.
Yeah.
It's like reading the
That guy
comics in
is,
the newspaper.
you just get to watch from the outside in. So you were a regular dude. You were in the Army. You were getting ready to cross over into the Special Forces pipeline. There had to be a ton of things that you were thinking about to try to order your training there. That's obviously a big focus of what people hit us up here. Like, what should I be training on? What did I do? What did you find worked for you as you were preparing to get into selection? Like, what was and especially I want to talk about mindset, right? Training programs and how much are you running and rucking, that stuff is largely, yes, it's important, and yes, it's a graded event and everything. So there's going to be somewhere that clips it's like, Aaron said PT wasn't important to get ready for the pipeline, which is how the internet works. But from the mental aspect, what did you find were the most handy mental tricks that you use as you were preparing to go and then going into the Special Forces pipeline for the Army?
Well, one, you're absolutely spot on the I tell a lot of people like, yeah, because I get it all the time, and I'm very grateful for it. It's just like, hey, I'm going to assessment and selection. You got any advice for me and everything? And I usually tell them, like, if you think just going there being in shape is like like I'm good to go, like that's the bare minimum. Like everybody's going to be in shape. Everybody's going to be able to ruck. Everybody's going to be able to run. And if you don't, they're going to flush you out like in a day, easy. So what you're going to have to really work on is your attitude, because they know and understand that they can train you to pretty much anything they want. But if your attitude is complete shit, then that goes out the window. Even if you're not even the most physically fit person, I've seen people that, okay, well, he's not that physically fit, but we know in our programs that you're going to be in shape in 3 months. We're going to run you until you either quit or you're now a phenomenal runner. Welcome to the game. So that's usually the easiest hurdle to get over, is the physical aspect. But the mental things that we look for is where some of it is just, some people are built the way they are, and you can just see it in their attitude and their candor, or how they walk and speak to others. That those are hurdles that are much more difficult to overcome to help shape an operator to be what we need them to be. And so I always just give people the biggest advice is, be coachable, and find you that mentor. If you're coachable, a lot can be accomplished if you have that open mindset. And a team player, this was a very long time ago, so I'll probably mess this story up. But I was one of the Robin Sage walkers, so I went out there for Robin Sage, and I'm just walking around making sure that the guys are doing anything that's going to put them in a shitty situation. Um, but there was like, they ended up rucking, we rucked in and everything. And it was a good movement, a good 10 miles in the middle of the night and everything. And to be fair, they kind of got lost. So after walking the second circle, I was like, hey, look, we're going east from here on out, because I'm not walking anymore because I'm tired. So we just started walking east. And so, but anyways, we get to this point where they stopped. And, and then everybody sat down. You could just tell everybody's feet was hurting. And I told the 18 Delta, who's our medical, and I was just like, hey, look, you're an 18 Delta. You never get to sit down when everybody else does. I was like, you need to be checking on everybody. So once again, it always just comes back to just these mindsets and attitudes of people and to be fair to this kid, and I can't remember his name, I noticed that the entire rest of the exercise, he did exactly that. Every time they stopped, he was like, hey, let me check on your feet. Where's your water at? Just making sure that everybody was taken care of, as an 18 Delta should do.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that is what it's all about. And I was like, you're now ready to become a Green Beret because you know and understand it. Is there mistakes you're going to make? Of course there are, because I kept making them all the way up until the very day I retired. But I like to feel, and a lot of us feel the same way, as if you find a really good mentor and you're coachable, you got it. You're moving in the right direction. And yes,
Well,
Aaron, don't be fat.
yeah, that's that's an important part.
I love it. I'm
You know
glad I
that.
didn't have to say it. It's starting to catch
Yeah.
fire. We're going to start a movement. It's called Don't Be Fucking Fat.
Don't be fat.
Well, some
Don't
general
be fat.
officers are going to find out. But
Oh, I hope it is.
so you're talking going back to that 18 Delta though. I think that actually probably helped him because it gave him a task and purpose. And instead of just kind of, and I'm not saying that the rest of the team was like, oh, woe is me, you know what I mean? But it gave that 18 Delta like, hey, I can't rest. I got to make sure that everybody else is good to go. And I have task and purpose, and let's care for some people. So I think that is also a part of it as well. So I'll put you on the spot and at risk for some opinions, but when you talk about being coachable and prepping, and it's more than just physical, there's a lot of prep programs that are out there. You have some that do like hell week or hell weekend or whatever, and it's just a complete smoke show, right? To just kicking the balls kind of thing. But then you have others that are more training and mentorship and that kind of stuff. In your opinion, where do you see the most kind of value? Because
I
there's
guess
value, in my opinion, there's value in both.
Yeah, and that's kind of like, that's what I was going to say. The crappy answer is that definitely both, because why do we do stress shoots? I've seen people out there that can pull out a pistol and a long gun and hit steel all day long. You make them run a mile and then do 100 burpees and then hand them the same rifle. Like you're just glad they're shooting in the right direction at that point. So there's something to be said about putting stress and seeing how people relate when they're put under the pressure. And then I mean, I guess it's no secret anymore, but welcome to assessment and selection. That's literally what it's built to do, is to put you under extreme stress, not to be an asshole or just to be like, well, I'm just going to make you low crawl for the next 500 meters just because I feel like being a
Mm-hmm.
dick. It's just to see how you react. When you get up, do you stand up and see the next person come behind you and then you help them get off the ground, or do you just take off on your own because it's easier? It's like the small things like that that really make a difference for an operator, because it is a cohesive team. And if you have one person, and I've seen it, one person who doesn't help that order, that ODA or that detachment, I mean, it can be detrimental. And so
Yep.
that's the reason why the assessment selection is where most people wash out is, and once again, it's nothing against the people who did. It's just because if that integrity is lost, it has a much larger effect on detachments and long run, objectives than people take credit for.
Oh yeah. And you know, we get asked a lot, how do I work on my mental toughness, mental strength? And the kind of my go-to, because I can explain it like I'm like a 5-year-old, right? Is when you say you're going to go out for a 6-mile run and that's what the plan says. And if you're following a plan, or if you just, today's a 5-mile run, a 6-mile run, and you start to hurt at 3 miles, do you quit and go, "Ah, dude, I'll finish the rest tomorrow. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's okay that I," or when it gets tough and you want to quit and you're tired and you hit that wall and you're hungry, do you just go, no, dude, I planned this. This is what it says I've got to do. I got to suck it up and do it. And those, it seems silly and it seems small, but it is a victory. It is a difficult moment to push through, and it'll help gain or build mental resilience as you go along. Like I said, it's a
Or just,
5-year-old analogy.
yeah, or just imagine when you don't know what that is. The ambiguity of it. I can't tell you, once again, letting in people in on maybe, too many secrets, but you're probably going to be told that you're going to walk and you won't know when that ends. Is that 4
Yep.
miles or is that 40?
And
So,
you don't know that, you don't standards, you don't know anything.
nothing. So, but
And
I had a great
it
time
messes.
doing it.
Yeah. That the one of the mind fucks that I love seeing is going out on a run with, you got a group going out on a formation run, and you've already done 3 or 4 miles, and okay, cool. Well, all right, sweet. We're heading on the road. We're heading back to the compound. It's going to be great. We, shower up and everything like that. And then, go from double time to quick time to walking, and then walk right by the entryway, and then double time. And you just keep going out for another 3 miles.
I think they do
And
that on purpose.
you can see
Just,
this. Yeah. The
I can tell
soul
you, as an
bleeding.
instructor, we 100% do that on purpose. I did it a bunch of times, and it hurts just as bad as when you're a student.
Yeah.
I knew the pain that I was about to inflict on these young men as I called that march in front of the building.
Mhm.
And I also reveled in their sadness as we walked away from the building.
100%, because you were there. That was
And
you.
I tell you, and it's the old saying: you live long enough to become the villain. That's what happened. I had lived long enough. I didn't die a hero, and I had crossed over to the other side, and then I was the guy like, these guys think we're stopping. Not today, buddy.
Exactly. 100%.
Got 'em.
Or I always
And that's why a
loved
lot of my students didn't like me, which is another thing. Anyway.
It's like the old land nav one. I always loved the land nav one, and I always felt horrible about it. But they would come, and you could see they're walking all day, and then they finally get to what they think is their last point, and you're just like, "Here's your next objective," and it's like 12 miles away, and you can just see the blood like leave their face. And, and the amount of people who would literally just quit there on the spot, they're like, no, I'm good. I'm done. But what they don't know is the point is actually 150 meters on the other side of the hill. And so they walk over there. They're just like, that's the end. Oh, it's such a mind fuck. But once again, it's all about seeing that mindset and that attitude. It's you get to see a lot. But yeah, all the good old days. I didn't know you were so
Yeah.
hated, Aaron. Maybe that's why you get all that hate mail all the time.
No, it
Oh,
100%
man.
is. Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it, and I accept it too. It's like a warm blanket now, like because I can always tell the people that actually know me that have ever worked on team with me and stuff. They've got a different opinion, but you could tell there's a whole cohort. There's like a year band, like people that graduated in between 2015 and 2019 that don't have a whole lot of good things to say. And you're like, oh, how long have you been in? Oh, you got in 13. You were at PJU at 2015. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Anyway,
And I get it.
I accept that. It was a rough time in my life. I got a lot of apologies to make. I probably just didn't make it to the guy that's mad at me yet because I made so many people mad. That's how amends works. You get out of addiction and you think about all the people that you've hurt. You go back and you go, hey, I'm really sorry. I was going through something. I just haven't gotten to you, everybody. So quit leaving me mean comments. Actually, don't quit leaving me mean comments.
Yeah.
Leave me more mean comments.
The wild thing, Dean, the wild thing is we had the SEAC on, right? Colon Lopez. So we had him on the show, and Aaron was one of his students. And they started talking about it. I can't remember if we were recording or if this was after recording.
It was
I
after.
don't know if we caught it on video, but
it was after.
Yeah. And he's like, hey, Aaron, and I'm not going to do the accent, but he's like, hey, I want to tell you, I'm really sorry for the things that I did to you because I was in a bad place and I took it out on you and the rest of your classes. Because he was the commandant.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yeah, he's the commandant.
Yeah. So I mean, and he's like so genuine, like, dude, I am so sorry for the things that I did to you guys.
Well, yeah, if you keep up what he's doing today too, man, he does some amazing stuff now too. So it's awesome to see. Yeah, he's good people.
Yeah, he is.
Silo's the heat, man.
See, he's just paying it forward, so
Yeah. There's a lot of that in these pipelines.
So much. My favorite is just like, well, I had to do it, so you're doing it. And I was like, well, eventually this cycle's got to break, man. Why don't you just be the guy?
Right. My favorite ones ever, though, and it was when I was an instructor. You saw it a little bit, like you do upgrades on the team, right? You have guys that you upgrade inside on the team that get upgraded. And they take different leadership positions. You saw a little bit there, but my favorite was getting an instructor into the schoolhouse when I'd been there for about 3 years. You get one of these new hard charging PJ instructors in, and they're like, listen, I'm not going to be that type of instructor. I'm going to get in. I'm going to change the world. AETC is stupid, but you can beat them, and we're going to change it, and it's going to be right. And then just watching that slow descent into madness over 2 years as the systems beat them down, as the process and the realities beat them down, and they kind of take that. And then watching, it's watching a Jedi turn into a Sith Lord. And by the end, they're just like, kill all cones. I hate them.
They're the worst.
They're the worst. It's great. Dean, it feels like a good place to end, brother. Man, I would just want to say thanks. All the work through the Special Forces Foundation, all your work with Black Rifle, just being a stand-up good dude, looking for the good in the world. We need more guys like you, man. I appreciate your service. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for all the work that you're doing. We usually give the guests one spot, one chance to give some advice to these folks that are trying to get into these career fields, whether it's Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, first responder, anything that they're trying to do, local politics. We got a whole bunch of people looking for something to do here, something that is going to call them to service. What kind of advice would you have for those folks?
Get started. There's too many people that I run across all the time that says, and I get it. If you're looking for like the right timing, that's not going to come. They're just, I don't know, maybe they may get lucky, but for me, there was never a great time. I was having a kid or something, some type of life event, another deployment, whatever it was. There's never going to be a great time, but just start. Even if it's just a little bit, go volunteer for this, whatever you're passionate about, just go and volunteer. I guarantee you there's a club, there's an organization, a group, whatever aligns with your beliefs. I know for a fact, but what I would say don't do is keep talking about it. Like, just send it, bro. Even if you even if you mess it all up, hell, you'd be
You can
shocked
say
how
fuck here.
much.
You're
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. So you'd be shocked on how much you're gonna learn. That's just gonna help catapult you into the next thing. Because, like, Special Forces Foundation, full disclosure, when I first started, leading that organization, I didn't have all the answers, and I messed up probably more than I probably should have. But I owe my good fortune to that and having a great mentor that said, "Hey, you messed that shit up, but we're gonna fix it and move forward." But I guess, yeah, probably too long winded, but just start fucking doing it, man. Like, send it. Who cares? Let it go. Like, you're not gonna have all the answers, and then obviously, and I tell everybody this, is find that good mentor. That will literally make and break, because everything you're going and probably trying to do, for the most part, somebody has already done and worked through it. If you have somebody who is awesome, that is, nice enough to pass along a lot of that wisdom, that will make your life significantly easier. And not that they're going to give you all the perfect answers, but there's going to be a few times where, hey, that will work. You can make that happen, and you do. And there's going to be other times where your mentor is going to be like, you're going to, that's going to be real bad, so, take it with a grain of salt and move forward with it.
Oh yeah. Dean, thanks so much, man. Really appreciate it. Go check out specialforcesfoundation.org if you have it in your heart to donate to that great organization. Or if you didn't even know that it existed, make sure to keep an eye out for Black Rifle, the philanthropy division, going big in 2026. We're affecting and changing the world, Dean.
Yes, we are.
Through coffee. We want to say thanks to everybody else. Go check out onesready.com. You can find all of our stuff there. You can hit the link tree. You can find us on all of our different platforms. Make sure you don't miss any content. Liking and subscribing is free. If you want to become a member, you'll get access to a whole bunch of stuff that we don't talk about out here and that you'll never have access to if you don't get on the team. So we suggest it. It's like a cup of coffee a month and not a Dutch Bros coffee, which is like $7. We're talking about less than that. So there you go. But I am a Dutch Bros guy because I'm also bougie. So from Peaches, I am. Got to have Dutch Bros, bro.
Well, we don't have a Black Rifle coffee out
I know.
here.
Yeah. If you guys had an in-place thing, I'm on the coffee subscription, so I have my Black Rifle coffee that I drink. But if I want a little sweet treat that I don't have to make myself, I go to Dutch Bros, but go to Black Rifle Coffee.
Keep telling Jared, we got to put one out here in Vegas. It'll go
go bananas out here. I don't understand. You know what? Let me just go ahead and give you some business advice, Dean. So you can pass up the chain.
Let me get my pen and paper.
Yeah.
You would need
write this down.
Listen, you know how Dutch Bros has 2 different lines as you drive through? A Black Rifle coffee out here would need 3 different lines. That's how popular it would be. It would be ridiculous out in Vegas. It would absolutely bang.
Yeah.
So,
or if we put it, Black Rifle in the South Point Casino, which is probably the most patriotic casino that exists
on the face of the planet. Right. Yeah, absolutely. That thing would absolutely
It's funny you bring
bang.
it up too. I mean, it's probably the number one question that I get all the time is, how do I get a Black Rifle? Well, not just Vegas, but everywhere I go. If there's not a Black Rifle store outpost, the very first thing they ask is, hey, how do I get an outpost here? So it's always the number one question, which is a good problem to have.
Nice.
Yeah, it's good.
Right. Bring it out to Vegas. Dean, thanks so much, man. From Peaches, from Trent, who just decided to sleep in today because he doesn't respect any of us as men. Thanks, everybody. Train hard. We'll see you next time.
See you.